Hello and welcome to this lecture on what-if analysis. This is from chapter 6. Some of you asked that I demonstrate this again, and so I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I've downloaded the file here, and so we'll go ahead and get started. The first option it says is we want to create range names from this area. I'll hold down the control key, and this area. And what we want is to use what we've selected in the cells to the left become the names of these cells here. So we'll go to the Formula tab, and there we'll use Create from Selection. We'll leave it alone as left column is what we want to create the names from. So we want the names or the text here. We'll hit OK. And then if you'll notice that when we click here, this is now the name. This is the name box for this range or cell. Same thing for gross profit. All right, so that takes care of step 2. Step 3 is edit the existing name range, employee hourly wage to hourly wage 218. To do that, we go to the name manager, and you can see I've already changed it here, but if we would go to edit, we would just literally type that name here and press OK, and the name would change. So we could do that as well. Now, in terms of step 4, get out of this, it wants you to use the range names in here. So prior to this, you would just literally come back here to this cell, and you'd say equals our gross profit minus our production costs. Okay, and the cell I'm using is one that got changed. Let me change that back to the original values. So I've got the original formulas back here. So typically in the net profit, here's what you would have. What they want you to do is retype that formula. So if I go equals, and then I go up to gross profit minus this value, that should return that value. So we're good there. So moving on to step 5, we want to create a new worksheet with the range names in it. So we can click on the Home tab, we can go to Insert, New Sheet. We are now going to then go to our formulas again, and we are going to paste names, and then we're going to paste the list. So then that lists all of our range names. We need to make this fit. So we'll go to our Home tab, we'll go under Format, Auto Column Width. Now we can see everything. And we need to rename this to be called range names with a space. You can hit enter. So that takes care of step 5. Step 6 is on the forecast sheet, start in cell E3. I'm going back to here. And what we want to do is complete the series of substitution values ranging from 10 to 20. So I'm going to go here, type in 10, go back up here. We're now going to the Home tab, and we're going to, you can see it should say Fill, but because I have my sheet compressed, you don't see Fill, but it's this icon here. Click that. I'll move that over a little. You want to do series. You want to do a column for this one. We want to step 10 each time, and we want to stop at 200. Click OK. Watch the cells, and move that back in. Should stop at 200. Okay. So just using the fill makes it easier than typing them all in. Alright, so now, since this is a one-way table, we want to know what this is going to be doing in terms of substituting these values into units sold, and we want to know what is the total production cost going to be using this model. Now, I spent a lot of time in class going over this model, so if you weren't in class, you'll need to look at these and understand what we're trying to produce here, which is net profit based on the inputs, the limitations, expenses, and income. Okay, so we're going to put total production costs. So that has to be part of the model. So we're going to say equals, and we're going to just point to this cell. Alright, so that's what it's going to use to substitute in and give us a value for whatever this is. Then we want to do gross profit, so we're going to say equals this cell. And then we want net profit at the end here, so we're going to say equals this cell. So that's what it's going to return for each one of these substitutions of just doing inputs. Alright, so now we're going to move on to step 8. Complete the one variable data table in the range using cell B4. B4 is this cell. That's what we're substituting all these values into. And then we're going to format it according to accounting number format with 2 decimal places. So you always have to start with this intersecting cell of your rows and columns that you want. Highlight that, and you highlight all of your table. All right, so once that's done, then to do what if analysis, that's underneath the data tab, we go to what if, we go to data table. Now we have column input, so we're going to use this column input cell, and we're going to substitute that, this column of values, into our model over here, and it's going to tell us what these values would be if we were sold 20 units, 30 units, and so on. And then we just hit OK. All right. We know that we're selling 100 units, so if you'll notice here for 100 units, then we have the same value here for, hold on one second. Total production costs, total costs, gross profits right here, and then net profit. Okay. Counting number format, you would just literally highlight the results here. On this one it came up already, but we would go into the home tab. We've got this one, which is the accounting number format, and it's already at 2 decimals. So now we need to do a custom format so we're not confused of what these tables, this column is really representing. So what this is really representing here is gross profit, total cost, gross profit, and then net cost. So we want this to actually say total cost at the top. To do that, we want to do a format. Right, we want to format those cells. We want to do a number tab, custom, and then you want to click on general, and you want to use quotes. This is the key here. So quotes, total cost. All right, hit OK. So this is just a label that you see on the screen, but the value behind here is still this out of this model. If you don't have a cell from the model at here, then this one-way variable data table is not going to work. All right, so the second one is net profit. So I'm going to just do a right click here, go to Format Cells. I got custom already. Go to General, and I'm going to hit net profit. And then this one, I think I did it again. Let me redo that. And it's supposed to be gross profit. That's what happens when you get in a hurry. Again, don't forget the quotes. Right click, go to Format, Number, Custom. Quotes again, net profit. Okay, so we've got that listed. All right, so moving on, they want us to copy, highlighting all this range, do Control-C, down to here, and then they want us to do another fill. We want to start at $15 and go to $40 out to the row here. So I'm going to go up to my Home tab. I'm going to come over here to Fill, Series. This time I want a row. I'll leave that alone. My step value is $5 each time, and I want to stop at 40. So you see how that's done. Okay. So enter the reference cell for net profit, which is this one, into this cell up here. So when we're doing one-way, two-way data tables, the substitution always takes place in this intersection of the column and the row. So we're going to put in what is it that we want to substitute these numbers into to get the result of net profit. So net profit's going to be listed in this area. So like for this cell, it's going to tell us what the net profit is if we sell 40 units and we have a wage of $25. Okay? So this actually needs to be B22 there, because that's net profit. That's what we're representing. All right, so these numbers are going to be substituted into here as we see what the impact is on net profit. So step 13 is to complete this. So we'll go ahead and move this over a little. And what we'll do is we'll highlight starting at the intersection row and cell, an intersection of column and cell. So I've got it. Now we're going to go to our data tab. We'll go to our what if analysis, do our data table. The row input, that's going to be this one. It's going to be the wage area in our model. So it's B6. The column input, which is the number of units sold, is B4. When I press OK, it's going to give us what we were looking for here is net profit. So these are the net profits that would be under these two different variables. Right, so to check this, currently we're selling 100, employee wage is 15. So at 115, you'll notice that that cell and this cell contain the same values. And that's what it should do, because that's what it's substituted into our model. we're now going to generate a summary report. So we're going to click Summary. And the result cells are going to be for, as it says in step 18, what we want to see results for when we make those changes are the total production costs, which is this cell, and the net profit, which is this cell. So once we specify those, we're going to make all those changes in our scenarios, and then when we hit OK, it's going to change those. It'll give us a summary report. And you should get, once you hit that button, you should get a report that looks like this. So here are the current values, here was the best case values that we put in, the worst case, the most likely, and then the result cells, here's what total production costs would be, and here's what net profit would be. So most likely if we had 150 units, $25, and then, or whatever B5 was, let's go back and look. Unit selling price. So again, here it would be good if we had names on these, and then you could see the names show up here in this scenario. We know this one was net profit, so we would see that value at 3,188 with these substituting values in there. So these gave me 3 different substitutions. So what we've done, if you think about it, is we did a 1 variable substitution, then we did a 2 variable substitution, and then with scenarios, you can do as many variables as you've got in your model to see what the different results might be. So think about what you've done, go back and look and see what those numbers are actually telling you. All right, the next step says make sure that solver is added in. So we're actually going to do a solver scenario. And the way you make sure it's actually added in, this is for those of you that probably have this loaded on your computers at home. It doesn't come loaded, so you may have to do something to go in there and change it. But if you go to File, you go to Options, and then you go to Add-ins, you'll see add-ins here. You'll see the, I'm going to scroll down here, move this up. I have to move this down. You'll see the Excel add-ins here. You'll hit go. I'm back up here. Notice I had analysis toolpack selected. So it's an add-in. You don't want the COM add-ins, actions, XML, or any of this, but you want an Excel add-in, and you want to make sure that you've got this analysis toolbox selected. You'll hit go, and this may be unchecked on yours, so you want to make sure you check it, and then you can hit OK. Once you've got that solver installed, then you should be able to go to the Data tab and see this under the analysis here, solver. What we want to do is we want to set the objective, and the objective is net profit. So we need to put this as our objective, and we want to maximize that. Then step 20 says we want to do that by changing units sold. Okay, so that's B4. Now we have some constraints. So in 21 it says use a limitation section, that's this area, to set a constraint for raw materials. Use the references to set constraints. So we're going to do an add, and the cell reference is going to be that raw materials has to be less than or equal to this value. So we can't use up all of our raw materials, or we have to have enough on hand to make things. Now, if you had other types of constraints, you can see just by changing that, that's where you would do that. So we like that, so we're going to add that. Then 22 says set a constraint for labor hours. Use cell references. So labor hours, or this value, has to be less than or equal to the number of that are available. So be careful you don't do what I just did. So labor hours has to be less than or equal to the number we have. So B17 less than or equal to B13. So we'll add that. Then we have another constraint for production capability. So here we're going to look at this maximum capacity per week has to be less than or equal to that. So this is what I have now, and so I'm ready to solve. So I'm going to solve the problem. We've got an answer. Now, notice that in step 24 it says generate the answer report. It's not obvious that you need to select one of these. Right? So you need to select the answer report. Right? We want to keep the solver solution, and we'll click OK. And you'll notice it created something down here for you. And as we scroll down through there, you'll see what it is. So it's telling you the original value. Got that. Then it's saying the variable cells is B4. Original value, final value is 200. Then we've got our constraints. And we've solved it. So it's telling us if anything was binding, what the current values are in order to maximize our net profit, right? 5,250. But if you think about it, that's the exact same value we got there. So now you've done everything that we need to do. The last step is to create that footer, which we've done several times. You would need to do that for all your worksheets. And that's how you do what-if analysis for Chapter 6.